Hello students, welcome to YouTube channel of Akshar Education. In this video we are going to discuss the important concept of 9th as well as 10th standard, that is probability. So what is probability? Probability is nothing but the measure of uncertainty of occurrence of any event. What is probability? It's a measure of uncertainty. Uncertainty of what? Uncertainty of occurrence of any event, whether the event will be occur or not. If you want to measure that uncertainty, we will use probability. So probability is the measure of uncertainty about the occurrence of any event. Now basically there are two types of probabilities. We have studied probabilities from our 8th standard. So in standard 8 as well as in standard 9, whatever the probabilities that we have studied, that probabilities are experimental probabilities. That means they were the experimental approach of this probability. They are also known as empirical approach of the probability. So what is the meaning of this experimental approach of probability? So in that probabilities we have discussed the uncertainty of occurrence of event or uncertainty of occurrence of experiment, that experiment has been already performed. After performing the experiment, we were finding the uncertainty of that event. Done. So that approach of probability is nothing but the experimental approach of the probability, in which experiment is already performed and we were finding the uncertainty of this experiment, outcomes of that experiment. While in our 10th standard we have to discuss theoretical approach of probability. Theoretical approach of probability. So what is the main difference between experimental approach of probability and theoretical approach of probability? As we have discussed, in experimental approach of probability we are finding the uncertainty of the events, or we can say uncertainty of experiment that have already been performed. While in case of theoretical approach, we are predicting, what we are doing? We are predicting the outcomes of the experiment. Done? We are predicting the outcomes of the experiment without performing the experiment. So that approach is known as a theoretical approach of probability. Clear the difference between the two types of probabilities? Experimental approach, that is also known as empirical approach, and the second approach of probability, that is a theoretical approach. In the theoretical approach to the probability, we are predicting the outcomes of experiment without performing the experiment. That means we are predicting the experiment, while in case of this experimental approach, we will predicting the outcomes after performing the experiment. That means हमारा जो experiment है वो perform हो चुका है, उसके बाद उसका output हम predict कर रहे हैं. While in case of theoretical approach, हम कोई भी experiment perform नहीं कर रहे हैं, without performing any experiment हम उसका outcome है वो predict कर रहे हैं. Clear? Or also the experiment can be of two types. Experiment can be of two types, that is deterministic experiment or random experiment. So what is deterministic experiment? So deterministic experiment are those experiments that we are performing on our laboratory, physics laboratory या फिर chemistry laboratory. So that experiments are nothing but the deterministic experiment. So in that deterministic experiment, our outcome is predicted. That means जो भी उसका output आएगा वो well known होगा, और हम कितनी भी बार वो एक्सपेरिमेंट परफॉर्म करेंगे उसका आउटपुट सेम आएगा, है ना. केमिस्ट्री की लैब में चले जाओ, वहाँ पर केमिस्ट्री का कोई भी एक्सपेरिमेंट आप परफॉर्म करो, वो एक्सपेरिमेंट आप आज करेंगे, कल करेंगे या परसों करेंगे, है ना. विंटर सीजन में करो या फिर अब उसको मानसून में करो, उसका जो आउटकम है वो चेंज होने वाला नहीं है. सो दैट टाइप ऑफ एक्सपेरिमेंट दैट वी आर परफॉर्मिंग इन आवर लेबोरेटरी, दे आर द डिटर्मिनिस्टिक एक्सपेरिमेंट. And the second type of experiments are the random experiments. Here we are going to discuss about the random experiment. So what is the random experiments? So random experiments are those experiments whose outcomes are not predictable, है ना. हम ऐसे एक्सपेरिमेंट करने वाले हैं जिसका आउटकम प्रिडिक्टेबल नहीं होगा. सपोज फिजिक्स में हम ओम्स लॉ परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं, ओम्स लॉ का एक्सपेरिमेंट परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं, तो वहाँ पर हमें पता है कि उसका जो आउटकम आएगा वो आएगा I=V/R, वो फिक्स रहेगा, उसका आउटकम चेंज नहीं होगा. So at that time outcome is predictable, but in our maths we are doing experimental, or in our maths we are doing random experiments, so that outcomes are not predictable. Done. And we have to determine the probability of occurrence of that experiment. Done. So that is nothing but the probability. So two types of experiments are there, two types of probabilities are there, or we can say two approaches of probabilities are there. Done. So random experiment whose outcome is completely unknown. So in our maths we are finding the probability of random experiments. So outcome is completely unknown. So what is a sample space? Sample space is nothing but the collection of all possible outcomes of a random experiment. What is random experiment? Random experiment is the experiment whose outcome is not possible. That means how many times you are performing the experiment at the different times, it will give different outcomes. Done. जितनी भी बार आप एक्सपेरिमेंट परफॉर्म करेंगे उतनी टाइम वो अलग अलग आउटपुट देगा. सो टोटल कितने पॉसिबल आउटकम्स वो हमें निकाल के देगा. सो ऑल पॉसिबल आउटकम्स ऑफ रैंडम एक्सपेरिमेंट, that collection of all possible outcomes of random experiment is known as sample space. What is sample space? It's a collection of, it is the collection of all possible outcomes of in random experiment. Clear? So that is known as sample space. Now events. What is event? Event is the desired outcome. Random experiment will give different outcomes. So out of that different outcomes, what is our desired outcome? So that desired outcome of a random experiment is known as event, because we are calculating the probability of occurrence of any event. So what is event? Event is nothing but the desired outcome of a random experiment, because a random experiment will give so many outcomes. So out of that so many outcomes, our desired outcome will call as event, and we are calculating the probability of that event. Clear? So what is event? A desired outcome of a random experiment is known as event. And if you want to find the probability of occurrence of that event, that is our desired outcome, formula is this. This is the one and only one formula that we will be going to use in our entire chapter. Probability of occurrence of any event E. This P of E can be read as probability of occurrence of any event E is nothing but the ratio of total number of favorable outcomes of an experiment divided by total number of outcomes. Random experiment will give so many outcomes, so that total number of possible outcomes that you have to keep in the denominator, and you have to put number of favorable outcomes in numerator. So that will give us probability of occurrence of any event. Clear, students? Now that event can be classified as two types of events, or maybe it's three types: certain event, uncertain event, and impossible event. Certain events are also known as sure events. Sure events means these events whose probability is 1. That means they are certain to occur. जो event होने वाली है वो event होके रहती है. That events are known as sure event. Done. Also known as certain event. So the event whose probability is always 1, the event whose probability is always 1, that events are known as sure events or certain events. Second type of event, impossible events. That means that events will never occur in our random experiment. जो event कभी occur नहीं होती है. So the events whose probability is 0, the event whose probability is 0 is known as impossible event. And third type of event is uncertain event. Uncertain event. So what is uncertain events? Uncertain events are the events whose probability always lies between 0 and 1. If the probability of event is 0, it is known as impossible event. If the probability of event is 1, it is known as sure event. And if the probability of event lies between 0 and 1, it is known as uncertain events. Clear? So these are the three types of events. And then you have to remember certain important result regarding this probability. So here first result is probability of occurrence of any event always lies between 0 and 1. Probability of occurrence of any event will always lies between 0 and 1. Probability may be either 0, or it can be between 0 and 1, or it can be 1. Probability will never be negative, or probability of any event will never greater than 1. It will be always between 0 and 1. Done. And also probability of negation of an event, that means probability of not occurring any event, that is E bar. Probability of E bar, that means event will not occur, that will be equal to 1 minus probability of occurrence of that event. Done. In short, we can write probability of occurrence of any event plus probability of not occurrence of that event is always equal to 1. Probability of occurrence of any event plus probability of not occurrence of that event is always equal to 1. Clear, student? So this is the short introduction regarding the probability. Pause the video and note it down. Random experiments that we have to study in our chapter. Random experiments. So what is random experiment? Random experiments whose outcomes are not predictable. Outcomes are not predictable. So first type of random experiment that we are going to discuss in our chapter, that means sums will based on that experiment, is tossing a coin. Tossing a coin. So if we toss a coin, two outcomes are there. Two possible outcomes are there. Two outcomes, it can be head or it can be tail. So collection of these all possible outcomes, this is nothing but the sample space of this random experiment tossing a coin. This is nothing but the sample space. Done. Tossing a coin. So two outcomes are there. Now second may be tossing a coin twice, or tossing two coins simultaneously. Tossing a one coin twice or tossing two coins simultaneously. So here sample space 2, that means sample space is represented by S. So sample space is collection of all possible outcomes. So what is the possible outcomes for the tossing a coin twice? If we toss one coin twice, first time suppose we are getting tail and second time we are getting tail. First possible outcome, second possible outcome, first time we are getting tail, second time we are getting head, that is second possible outcome. Third possible outcome for tossing a coin twice, first time we are getting head, second time we are getting tail, and fourth possible outcome is HH. Done. So this is the same sample space for tossing two coins simultaneously. एक साथ दो coin आपको टॉस करना है, तो फर्स्ट coin पर T आएगा, सेकंड coin पर T आएगा, फर्स्ट coin पर T आएगा, सेकंड coin पर H आएगा, फर्स्ट coin पर H आएगा, सेकंड coin पर T आएगा, फर्स्ट coin पर H आएगा, सेकंड coin पर H आएगा. So tossing a coin twice or tossing two coins simultaneously. So sample space is TT, TH, HT and HH. Third one is tossing three coins simultaneously. Tossing three coins simultaneously, or tossing one coin thrice. Tossing one coin thrice, that means एक coin को 3 बार टॉस करना है, या फिर 3 coin को एक साथ में एक बार टॉस करना है. So total possible outcomes will be 8, and that 8 possible outcomes will be like this. I am writing like this. It's a tail, 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 head, tail, head, tail, tail, head, 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 tail, tail, head, tail, head, 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 tail, and last में head, head, head. Total 8 possible outcomes are there in tossing a coin 3 times. Clear? So these are the total 8 possible outcomes. मैंने ऐसे vertically याद रखे हैं, आपको जैसे भी याद रखे उस हिसाब से आपको याद रखने हैं. So total 8 possible outcomes are there in tossing a 3 coins simultaneously. Clear, students? This is the random experiment regarding coin. One more type of a random experiment is throwing a dice. Throwing a dice. Throwing a die. So throwing a die is there. Total 6 outcomes are there. So total possible outcomes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Die है ना, क्यूब जैसा होता है, उसके ऊपर टोटल 6 नंबर होते हैं. तो throwing a dice, so total 6 outcomes are there. One more outcome, or we can say one more random experiment, that is throwing a dice. Throwing a dice, or we can say throwing a die twice, or throwing 2 dice, plural of dice, throwing 2 dice simultaneously. Throwing 1 die twice, or throwing 2 dice simultaneously. So total number of possible outcomes are, so here we are making the list of total number of outcomes. So possible outcome, throwing a die twice. So first time we are getting 1 on a dice, second time also we are getting 1 on a dice. That is first possible outcome. Second possible outcome, first time we are getting 1, second time we are getting 2. Likewise 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6. Done. On a first die we are getting 1, second die we are getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Continuously we are getting 2 on first die, 1 in second die. So it's your 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 6. Done. Continuously we are getting 3, 1 up to 3, 6, then 4, 1 up to 4, 6, 5, 1 to 5, 6, and then 6, 1 to 6, 6. That means 6 on a first die, 1 on a second die, 6 on a first die, 2 on a second die. Likewise 6 on a first die and 6 on a second die. So total number of possible outcomes here, throwing a dice twice or throwing 2 dice simultaneously, total number of outcomes are 36. Total number of outcomes are 36. Done. So these are the some random experiments that we have to study in our 10th standard. So now pause the video and note it down. Okay, next random experiment is regarding playing cards. Selection of playing card from the deck of the cards. So let's have some introduction regarding playing cards. Playing cards. Done. So total number of cards in a deck of cards. Deck means total number of cards. So total number of cards. So total number of playing cards are 52. Total number of playing cards are 52. In playing cards, total 2 colors are there. 2 colors are there. 2 colors are red color and black colors are there. In playing card, in a deck of playing cards, total 52 cards are there. We are not including jokers. Total 52 cards are there, in which the card total 26 cards are of red color and 26 cards are of black colors. So red color total 26 cards are there. In black color also total 26 cards are there. Total 52 cards are there. Done. So here red color, in red color total 2 types of cards are there. One is this hearts, and another is this diamonds. Hearts and diamonds. Heart, total 13 cards of hearts are there and total 13 cards of diamonds are there. Done. While black cards, in black also there are 2 types of cards are there. First one is like this. Also this is known as spade, and this one is like this one, club cards are there. So total 13 cards of spade are there and total 13 cards of clubs are there. Done. So total 52 cards are there. Heart, diamond, spade and club. Total 13 cards of heart, 13 cards of diamond, 13 cards of spade and 13 cards of club. Done. So in the heart of 13 cards, it's consists of, starts from the ace, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Up to 10, and then it consists of face card, jack, queen and king. Jack, queen and king. Jack, queen and king. Total 13 cards here. Out of 13 cards, total 3 face cards are there. 3 face cards are there of the heart. Similarly in diamond, ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 10. Jack, queen and king. Total 3 face cards in diamond. Total 3 face cards in spade and total 3 face cards in club. Total 13 cards are there. So here we can write total number of face cards. Total number of face cards. So 3 face cards in each type of card. So it's a total 12 face cards are there. Total 12 number of face cards are there in a playing cards. Clear students? So this is the short introduction regarding the playing cards. Pause the video and note it down.